to the second installment of the Pug's Thoughts in the Doghouse. I'm Pug, and this is what I'm thinking. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who viewed last week's entry. A grand total of 24 people watched my video on the internet, or at least I got 24 views in the week. Now, if my current roommate is watching, and she might, she will agree with me that that's a big number for me, because I have a radio show at KXLE, as I mentioned before, which got extended, by the way, by a week. Hopefully that continues. But anyway, I will put radio shows online, and I'm lucky enough if 1 or 2 people view my shows. So 24 people is a big number. So thank you very much for watching. This vlog was an experiment to begin with. So tell your friends, tell your family, everybody about the Pug's Thoughts in the Doghouse, and hopefully we can get some more views on the internet. So once again, I'd like to ask people to check out my blog at www.cwupulsepug.blogspot.com. You can check some information out on the info side here as you're watching it on the internet. So there were lots of topics to talk about this week. I was thinking I could talk about the Major League Soccer labor problems, whether or not Sidney Crosby is over or underrated after scoring the game-winning goal in the Olympics, first impression of the Mariners. But I decided that this week to go to a school at the Division II level. That's right, it is a great time to be a Central Washington Wildcat fan, student, and alum. Because for the 3rd year in a row, our football team has made the playoffs, and the men's basketball team is following them. The men's basketball team will play their arch rival, the Western Washington Vikings, on Friday in Bellingham, Washington, for the first round of the postseason. And I want to give kudos to this Wildcat team. The team lost 7 seniors from last year's squad, and very few people, including myself, thought this team would not make the playoffs for the 4th time in the last 5 years. The team was always on the cusp of going somewhere, and I say that because for every good, solid win they had, there was a terrible loss. But they hung in there just long enough, and they got the 8th seed in the West Regional poll, which gave them this postseason berth. Plus, this is my alma mater. So, congratulations. Now let's focus on the Wildcats' new season. For starters, if the Wildcats are going to be successful in the playoffs, they need to have a huge offensive run, and they need to slow down defensively. Now, this may seem like a given because that's a very common thing to do in basketball. However, the Wildcats are at their best when they can play a fast pace. They can play fast pace on one side of the court and slow on the other. Take their final game of the regular season against the St. Martin's Saints in Ellensburg. In the last few seconds of regulation play, the Wildcats settled down and kept St. Martin's out of sync, so the Saints couldn't put up a solid, quality, game-winning shot. And when the game went into overtime, the Wildcats put up a huge offensive attack, and that ran the Saints into the ground. So the Wildcats need to get off to a fast start against their opponents and then slowly stiffen up their defensive game. Now, the number one thing, even though that's all been said, the number one thing the Wildcats cannot do in the playoffs if they want to be successful is exchange baskets. Now, this has driven me crazy throughout the season. If the Wildcats don't trade baskets, well, certain things may have not happened. For example, they may not have lost to the Alaska Anchorage Seawolves in Ellensburg. They could have played closer against the Seattle Pacific University Falcons, and they could have prevented what happened against Western Washington both times they've already played this year, both in Ellensburg and in Bellingham. And that's a coach's nightmare. Because you're doing all this work, you're getting this one shot, and then you got to go down there and on the other side of the court, get a defensive stop, can't do it. It will drive fans, coaches, and players crazy. The Wildcats cannot exchange baskets in the playoffs. So on that note, go Wildcats. Let's see our first playoff win that we've been craving ever since they lost to the Seattle Pacific Falcons in 2006. That was the first round. So congratulations to the Wildcats, Once again, you can check out my blog at cwupulsepug.blogspot.com, and we'll see you next week for another installment of the Pug's Thoughts in the Doghouse.